Welcome to this second lecture of week 13. This presentation examines the categories of unethical conduct, namely fraud, waste and abuse, mechanism to minimizing fraud, waste and abuse, and finally institutional bodies to combat unethical conduct in the public sector. The problem of fraud, corruption, waste and abuse has always existed in varying degrees in public institutions. Fraud involves trickery, cheating, and intentional deception causing individuals to give up lawful rights or ownership of property. It is, in essence, an intentional or unintentional illegal or wrongful act employed explicitly for obtaining money or benefit from public programs. Waste most often most often is comprised of unintentional acts that result in insufficient practice or the misapplication of resources, causing increased costs or reduced benefit to recipients, to potential recipients. Abuse involves the violation of government and institutional procedures, regulations, and directives, impairing effective and efficient implementation of programs. The general attributes that might reasonably be identified with fraud, waste, and abuse can be summarized as follows. It is a violation of public trust, a conversion of public benefits to private hands, a perversion of authority and the commission of an unacceptable act, a failure to enforce laws, rules, and regulations, or to apply sanctions to a given situation, and finally, an intentional or unintentional misapplication, misappropriation, or wasteful use of public resources. The problem of fraud, corruption, waste, and abuse has always existed in varying degrees in public institutions, and one can assume that this will continue despite efforts to the contrary. These phenomena result from unethical conduct by officials with unprofessional attitudes. In South Africa, since 1994, various mechanisms have been introduced to combat fraud and corruption. There are watchdog bodies investigating criminal offenses in the public sector and ensuring official or even political office bearers are prosecuted. A number of developments helped to raise the consciousness and concern about fraud, waste, and abuse of government available resources. These mechanisms can be divided into two groups. The first one is incentive mechanisms. Little has been discussed about this, and although incentive mechanisms are important factor in the fight against fraud, waste and abuse, they require the establishment of a conducive, accommodative and effective institutional environment where effective controls will be in place and ethical practices emphasized and followed at all management levels. Among the positive practices that should be observed are the following: maintenance of open communication and channels for employees, hiring and promoting competent and trustworthy employees only, close examination of the work of employees on a continuous basis, regular review and appropriate changes in weak control areas, unannounced inspection tours, and many other. When it comes to fraud control strategies, fraud control and prevention is clearly a management function. Effective fraud control strategies should therefore contain the following attributes: an integrated macro policy, responsibility structures, fraud risk assessment, employee, customer, and community awareness, fraud reporting systems, external notification, investigation and standards, and conduct and disciplinary standards. Institutional bodies combating unethical conduct in the public sector are the Public Service Commission, which ensures effectiveness and contributes to conformity in the total system of governance. The Auditor General, its functions are to ascertain, investigate, and audit all the accounts and financial statements of all government departments and statutory bodies. The Public Protector has the power to investigate any conduct in state affairs or in the public administration in any spheres of government that is alleged or suspected to be improper or to result in any impropriety or prejudice. The Special Investigating Unit carries out investigations as referred to it by the President through publication of a proclamation in the Government Gazette. And finally, the National Prosecuting Authority has the power to institute criminal proceedings on behalf of the state and to carry out any necessary functions incidental to instituting criminal proceedings.